Nvidia, just like Intel and AMD, is one of the major players in the computer world. They're mostly known around the PC gaming, productivity, and AI space for their discrete desktop computer graphics cards, with their most recent line of graphics cards being the GeForce Nvidia RTX 5000 series of GPUs. So what exactly is the difference between a GTX, and RTX Nvidia graphics card? And by the way, for this video, it is important to know that Nvidia has had multiple GPUs in the past, but for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to be sticking to the most modern and most common Nvidia GPUs you can find being sold around. And I will also stick to the GeForce desktop GPUs, which were, or rather are, targeted mostly to consumers, and I will avoid talking about Nvidia laptop GPUs because they can get quite convoluted to cover in this one video. Okay, so let's start with the Nvidia GeForce GT graphics cards. An example of a GT graphics card is an Nvidia GeForce GT 710. Now, GT cards were mostly targeted for entry-level non-gaming focused PCs. These cards are typically designed for basic tasks like watching HD videos, light web browsing, and general desktop usage. They are less powerful than their GTX and RTX counterparts and generally tend to be more affordable. But if we take into account that, according to Wikipedia, the last Nvidia GPU was released way back in 2014 in the form of the Nvidia GT 740, I wouldn't really recommend buying an Nvidia GT GPU in this modern day and age. And I am certain that the GT GPUs lack a lot of the modern feature support that may be a requirement to play a lot of modern day video games and also run modern day productivity applications. This is where we jump into the GTX line of GPUs, and they are a huge step up in performance from the GT line of GPUs, and to date they still remain ever popular according to the Steam hardware survey. A quick side note, the acronym GTX stands for Gigatexel Shader Extreme. Now, most of the GPUs in this class can perform relatively decent even in modern day AAA titles and will run especially very well with a lot of esports geared titles. And to add to this, sometimes you will and even find GTX GPUs offering up to 11 gigs of VRAM memory, like the legendary Nvidia GeForce GTX 1080 Ti. The last GTX GPU was released around March 14th, 2019, and this was the Nvidia GTX 1660 GPU. But as awesome as the GTX GPUs are, they do also lack some modern features that will be a requirement for you to play in modern games. Hence, some of the GTX cards, even the GTX 1080 Ti, will struggle to run a lot of modern day AAA titles that do have things like ray tracing. And this is where the RTX line of GPUs comes in. Now, the RTX acronym stands for Ray Tracing Texel Extreme. This line of GPUs came with a lot of support for modern features like real-time in-game ray tracing. Ray tracing, if you do not know, is a rendering technique that can realistically simulate lighting of a scene and its objects by rendering physically accurate reflections, refractions, shadows, and even indirect lighting. RTX GPUs are able to do this because they have specialized cores in the name of RT cores, which are used to handle ray tracing, and tensor cores, which are used for AI stuff like AI image upscaling and AI frame generation. Put it simply, this helps your games run smoother by rendering your game in a lower resolution, then upscaling the actual image to your monitor's resolution, thus giving you more quote-unquote performance. Tensor cores are also useful for AI-related tasks like AI data processing, video green screen backgrounds for webcams, and AI noise suppression for audio using the Nvidia Broadcast SDK. And there you have it. Hopefully this information was useful for you. If it was. Be sure to follow us and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Also share this video with anyone and everyone who might be interested in learning this information. And as always, if you want to inquire more about PC parts, be sure to visit our shop, which is located at Old Mutual Building along Kimathi Street, room 405 on the 4th floor. Additionally, you can have a chat with us or browse through our catalog over at esgaming.co.ke. Tell us what you think about this video, and I'll be sure to catch you in the next one.